Stay tuned, stay tuned, stay tuned. I'm here with the coach, John Brett.
I'm here with the vet, Mr. Ian Griffin.
What is going on, Coach?
Not much, just wondering about this whole war over there in Russia, Ukraine again.
Oh my goodness. So now we got tanks going on.
We're going to send them money, we're going to send them this, we're going to send them, now we're sending tanks. Oh, okay.
Tanks.
What's next? We're going to send them Brad Pitt and
airplanes and
whatever.
I don't know. So
superheroes. That's what she's saying.
Yeah, we got to talk this tank thing though, because they are not a member of NATO. That's one. We'd like for them to be, but let's be honest, is we held back on that because we wanted, if Russia did get crazy, there was a buffer space that wouldn't affect NATO immediately. So we kind of laid back on that because we kind of saw those tea leaves. So now we're sending tanks over. And first of all, I'm going to say is this. Maybe back in 2012, we shouldn't have moved tanks out of Europe. Just throwing it out there. I mean, I only did a research paper on it for my master's, is regarding M1 Abrams tank being the best tank that ever was produced up to that time. But we missed the opportunity of outfitting the NATO alliance with it because we were too stuck on stupid, to be honest.
Why do we feel the need? These are questions that I've heard. Why do we feel the need to get this involved in a war without getting involved in a war?
Because I'm going to say this is, it's a pride issue.
Okay.
We spent 70 years in the Cold War, 60 years, 50 years, whatever it was in the Cold War. And we put all that money and invested into it. And we're like, this just drives a stake in the heart of that right there, of the biggest adversary in the Cold War, which it does. But there's a lot of money involved in that. There's a lot of people jumping regarding those things.
So, we, like in World War II, this, you studied World War II a whole lot more than me. We tried to stay neutral. The neutrality that we were trying to balance there, but at the same time, we were not really being neutral. We were just not putting boots on the ground. Yeah. So do you kind of feel that's the same thing kind of going on here?
It's close. So we did the Lend-Lease program. We sent equipment over. And so it's, hey, you give us money later. We keep sending money, equipment over, and we're like, yeah, you're gonna owe us for the rest of your lives. But go ahead.
Right.
You're doing the fighting, not our guys. But there were some secrets to that too. Is during that time, you read The Arsenal of Democracy, and I can't think of the guy's name. No, it's Freedom Forge is what it's called, but it's about the Arsenal of Democracy. Excuse me. We wasn't able to really fight. Our military wasn't up to snuff yet, and nor did we have the equipment. So what we did was we gave them a bunch of old equipment, let them run through all that crap, give them a bunch of old equipment, let them run all through that. And if you look at World War II, once the Nazis attacked the Russians, you start pulling back all these Russian vehicles. There was a Ford emblem on 90% of the wheeled vehicle.
Yeah.
I don't know where they have a Ford plant over in Russia. I don't think so. So we know where that came from. Is from.
It's not like this is the first time that we try to fight a war this way without really fighting a war.
Yeah.
It's just that I don't know. It just seems like, from the standpoint of a lot of people, like we're $30 trillion in debt. We just start sending billions and billions and billions of dollars over here, and it's not even being it's like an old school Black Ops type thing where it's underground, where you don't want to talk about it. We're just come out and right on the, come out and tap the mic. We're going to send $1.7 billion to. So, Russia said, go, wait a minute. They're not in the war, but they're supporting the war.
Yeah. So, it's the democratic way is to send money.
Yeah.
Hey, what you needed an acre, we'll send you a couple million. Is that cover the acre? That is to send money. That's the first thing. The second thing is the thing that catches the headlines because the media runs with it is only troops. So troops get hurt. Oh shit! Families, communities are involved. I can have a contractor get hurt and ain't nobody give a damn.
Right.
But I can have a troop get hurt, and the whole nation is like, all the politicians are circle around that 500. And how many is in Congress?
Yeah.
Or into the Senate, and they're all circle around like, oh, whose district was that in? Is that a contractor get hurt? Who cares?
There's something powerful, and I believe that, looking back on the Vietnam War, I think the most powerful visual that we had was caskets coming home with American flag draped over it for the media to take pictures of and for us to see. I think it's such a visual in America. We don't want that kind of war anymore.
you went from troops to contractors that nobody cares about. Then equipment, like who cares about equipment?
Yeah.
You know, when President Trump was president, they shot down a drone. They said, well, he needs to bomb Iran. And everybody was behind him. And it was probably the most presidential thing he did. He said, I'm not killing people over a freaking piece of equipment.
Right.
And I'm like, that was presidential.
Yeah.
Whether you like Trump or not, shut up and take a step back. That was presidential. So in America, the mindset is a troop, though. People relate to that. That's an 18-year-old that comes in the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, Space Force, or whatever. They come in and they defend the nation, and everybody can say that's our son or daughter.
Yeah.
A contractor, everybody looks at them like, those are greedy mother flippers that are making money.
Yeah.
That's how they look at them. That's not necessarily
Right.
the case, but that's how they look at them. So it doesn't stir the emotion. And then when it comes to equipment, they're like, it's just millions of dollars. They only hired 80,000 more tax agents to tax me even more. I'll be able to pay for it. Don't worry about it.
So going now, what this is kind of about is President Biden just said that we're going to send 30 tanks.
Yeah, so let's back it up a little bit. At first, the question was, should tanks be involved? And people pushed Germany and said, Germany, you need to push some tanks out there. Germany has a Leopard 2 and the Leopard 2. And Germany, different from America. America, when we do foreign military sales, we'll sell the piece of equipment to them and tell them that you can only use it for this and this and this. You can buy it as part of the agreement. You can't sell it to another country, Germany is different, though. When they do foreign military sales, they'll go to another country and go, we'll let you build our tank. That way we're in cahoots with it. But what they came out and said was none of the countries that bought their tank. And so they've been more lucrative in their means of foreign military sales. Where in America, we have too many congressional people to put their little fingers in it and put too much constraints on it. So that's why the M1's not out there as much as we like. But we pick and choose who we want to sell to also.
So,
But with that, they sit there and they stopped all those countries that bought from them and said, you can't sell them to Ukraine or you can't send them over. And Germany looked at us and said, we will not send the Leopard 2, Leopard 2, whatever you want to call it, until you send the M1. And
so
they said,
even more pressure.
So what Germany did was they go, yeah, America, we got it. You give 55% to NATO, but we're going to be the big bully on the block because we're the big bully on the block in Europe. And we're going to make you do something if we're going to do it.
So we do have a constitution.
Yep.
And I know I'm kind of sound funny with this. The person that declares war on another country is Congress, not the president.
Yep.
Now, president's making a decision, not even based on talking with a lot of military people from what we're hearing, but just emotional decision.
Yep.
Why is not Congress the one that has to allocate the 30 tanks to Ukraine?
Yeah, it should be because they're the ones who dictate. The president gives the direction for the foreign military sales, but Congress is giving the budget and everything else regarding all that. But the president can go and work out a deal with Saudi, and go work out a deal with other countries, and I'm going to sell these things to them, and Congress and everybody will follow suit.
Well, I don't know the price of a tank, but I'm saying it's probably $500,000 maybe. I don't know. $9 million?
Eight,
All right, so,
8 or 9.
So let's call it 8. 8 times 30 is $240 million. We're just sending to Ukraine. So that's money that's allocated that we pay as taxpayers is going to Ukraine. And Congress is not involved in that.
And just remember the president 6-7 months ago said, we would never send tanks or airplanes because that would be an act of war.
Right. So
but now it's not an act of war.
But what I'm saying is, how can he make that decision without someone in Congress saying you can't do that and we don't allow that? Yeah, that's the way we should be doing things. But
it should be. Yes.
I guess like the great number 44 said, elections have consequences, so you get to do whatever you want when you're in power, I guess.
When you're out of power, you get to grab about everything that the guy in power does. When you're in power, you go, Katie bar the door, screw all y'all. I'm making the decisions I would have never let the other guy make.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty funny that you say it that way because these decisions that's been made about this war. Just imagine if President Trump would have won re-election, he made the exact same decision.
Oh, they would have impeached him 5 more times.
Oh my gosh, are you kidding me?
Nancy would have wore a path down to Congress that a deer would have followed because it would have been so worn out how many times she's done.
So this is just my opinion. This was your job, but my opinion is like, no matter what we keep sending, I don't know if they're going to win the war unless Russia just says we're done.
Well, now hold on. Let me say this. The M1 being sent over there is a game changer. And everybody goes, well, you're sending 30 and they have a couple hundred. Well, go back and do the research that I did in my paper, and when we did it, we said 5-to-1 kill ratio.
Yeah.
It takes out 5, and then you may get 1.
Hmm.
Go look at how many's actually been killed in battle by another tank. Less than this was on this hand.
Oh, okay.
And it's been around since '79. Okay.
Hmm.
So just think about that right there. The advantage is astronomical. The best way I can say how different the M1 is to everybody else's stuff, to include, because I even did that, put that in there about the 4 military cell part, the Leopard 2, because it got its butt waxed in Syria. They knocked out like 11 or 14 of them, which is more than, in one battle, than more than any time has happened with M1, is it would be like putting Josh Allen today, fully healthy, at the 6th grade football game and say, go be the quarterback.
I got you.
That's the difference.
I got you.
Okay? That's how bad it is. And Josh Allen could let 11 people tackle him because he's bigger than all of them out there, and he'd still run fun.
So my last question on this, because you're the military guys. So on Drudge Report this morning, I was looking through the news, and said that Russia possibly sending 500,000 more troops to the war.
I wouldn't doubt that.
So with that type of troop going into a war against a country that doesn't even have a large army, is this going to be an overrun at this point?
Well, so I will tell you what I've heard from, not from the military at all, but from people over across the pond that are not associated with the military, just local people who live over there. And they said this first year was to take it nicely and leave everything there. The second year, as what normally happens in winter times in Europe, is there's a winter pause, they reconstitute, and then there's the Russian steamroller.
Yeah, so
that's
their game plan.
That's the thought of people that are over in Europe. But what I've been told is they believe that the Russian steamroller is about to come.
And that's probably good. I mean, from a standpoint of them wanting to win the war, that's probably a good game plan.
That is. They tried to fight it nicely and not damage.
So what do you think the last thing I want to say on this, what do you think the political backlash will be, or the politics will be involved, is if Ukraine just gets smashed in this and we're, so many billions of dollars in, and the politics are going to say, wait a minute, we sent all these billions of dollars over there for a war that wasn't won, when we could have done this and possibly the war was won.
I will say, first of all, I think the politicians on the president's party will say, we gave an honest American effort, is what they'll say.
Sure.
That's what they're going to say.
And I don't believe that's a bad call. I mean, if you did nothing, you did nothing, but they did do something.
Yeah, that's what they're going to say.
Yeah.
But let's turn the table in 20 years when we fight somebody, we can surely expect the Russians to do the same thing.
Exactly. From now on, they're going to.
Where if we just sit back and go, let y'all do your thing, do your thing. But I don't think we should have let them do the thing. I think we should have been involved, but maybe a little bit more up front. Instead of sending blankets and helmets, maybe we should have sent a lot more.
Well, I'm throwing in one curveball. What if President Biden and all of NATO said, we're putting Ukraine in tomorrow, and they agree to come in tomorrow?
They won't. So for my understanding, for Ukraine to become a NATO member, from my understanding, it has to be a unanimous decision.
And it's not going to be with.
There's 2 countries that are outlined. They're in NATO, but they're too close to the border and wishy-washy.
So they're not. Russia wouldn't be able to make that decision.
Russia don't have the choice.
Right. So
it's all NATO members. All NATO members have to agree to it.
So all would, and they're not going to.
I don't believe they will.
Well, there's always some deals to be cut. Put Hunter over there. Let Hunter cut some deals.
Yeah. I mean,
and Hunter Biden get this thing done.
Matter of fact, let's just go to the garage and go get the game plan out.
I think what we should do, put Hunter and the man of the art of the deal, Trump, together on a plane and send them over there and get the deal done.
I think the one thing 45 could do, I think he would fix that. I didn't say that.
Hey, the man stepped across the demilitarization line and shook the man's hand on North Korea. Now, who ever thought that would ever be done by
and if you haven't never been there, let me tell you, you have no idea what you're looking at. There's a line there. There's a fake city back there, and the American soldiers. I'm 5'11" in the Army. Okay, I'm 5'10.5", and I registered as 5'11". I would never even have gotten to be stationed there because we put these 6-foot blankety blank mother flippers up there with big blue eyes or big freaking muscles, so that it scares the living hell out of every one of them. And there's a company up there of like 300 people that every one of them make JB here look tiny.
I
I'm
still,
telling you that.
I still think one of the most laughable things was when he stepped over and took the hand out. I mean, North Korea's president was almost like, "Oh, please don't! Oh, please don't!" You just thought for a second he was like, "Holy crap!"
But
it just
well,
happened.
because there's two reasons behind it, though. I mean, one, that was nobody's ever done that.
Right.
Two, they look at him as almost as he's a god.
Yeah.
Is almost so nobody else touches him unless he wants to be touched.
Right. Well,
Okay.
not yeah, and no one has ever intimidated Donald Trump, no matter what you think of him. You know, I'm not a huge fan of him now, but there's one thing that I would say that if I was looking at someone to send in and not to be intimidated, no matter the circumstances, I'm sending either him or Dennis Rodman. That's it.
So leadership is also about doing it in front of everybody.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing Donald Trump understood was that right there. Soldiers will follow you off a cliff if they see you doing it first. And you're not afraid to get dirty and not afraid to get hurt. You can get hurt and they'll be like, we're following that guy. We're following that guy because he did it with us. Or you can lead in Delaware in a bunker and nobody will follow you anyway. You know.
I'll tell you what. Well, anyway. All right, so we sent 30 tanks. We'll see what next. Been sending money, sending some logistics stuff. Now we're sending tanks. What's next?
Yeah, there's going to be airplanes. This is what it's going to be.
Well, they say no way we're sending airplanes. But they all said that about tanks too.
Right? About tanks. It's going to be airplanes are next. So.
Oh, my goodness.
Awesome.
All right.
All right. So from the coach
To the vet.
Stay tuned.